When I was graduating high school, I joined the Navy, and I always had an underlying fascination with history, and that comes from my parents. My parents are very much into history, my whole family actually. I lived in Italy for a little while, thanks to the U.S. Navy. And living in Italy and going to places like Pompeii and Rome and seeing that ancient history really sparked something in me. But it wasn't until many years later, after I'd come back and started a family, and that I said, you know, I'm not happy with the direction I'm going in work-wise. I'm in the creative industry. It's very competitive, and I really don't have the passion for it. I sat down with my wife and I said, you know, I want to do something that I love to do, something I don't think I gave myself a chance to do when I was younger. And I want to not only get involved in history, but I want to teach it. And I want to go back to school. And my wife was absolutely for it. Much support from my family. As far as working, I've been studying New York City history since I was a kid and fascinated by it. And I couldn't get enough of it. And every time I walk around here in downtown in the city, I just absolutely love. I know the architecture and I know what happened here, the historical things that other people don't know. I started volunteering, and I got a volunteer position at the Greenwood Cemetery National Historic Landmark in Brooklyn, doing historical research with a group of team members. And that was really it for me. That's when I said, you know what, that's what I want to do. I started going back to school in 2007. And I could only go part-time because I was working full-time. I have a family, so it wasn't easy for me to just quit. I've been in the creative field since 2000, and it's a paycheck. That's how I look at it. It's just work. What I've been doing to advance myself is, well, I've only have a few months left. I have 2 semesters left here. But what I've been doing in the meantime is I've been writing essays for journals. I have one that's coming up soon to be published, an essay. And I've been doing as much footwork as I can to try to get myself into the door to be a historian. Early October, I received an email from a private investigator in Louisiana. She contacted me on behalf of her client. Her client was doing research into the remains of lost governors of Louisiana. Actually, he was trying to catalog all the whereabouts of the governors of the state of Louisiana, and he had hit a brick wall. And he hired a private investigator, and she had contacted me through a history network, through a website that had my information on it. And she had asked me if I knew of a Greenwood Cemetery in New York City, and I said, absolutely, there's one in Brooklyn, and I know it very well. I give private tours there, and I do historical research there. So she had asked me if I could verify, document, photograph, basically help them with their research to find this governor, Joshua Baker, who was the last military governor of Louisiana in 1868. And I said, absolutely. So a few days later, I packed my camera, took my laptop, went over to Greenwood Cemetery, went through the archives, pulled out the original handwritten ledger from 1868, went through it, found a Joshua Baker. And I went to find his gravesite, which was actually quite difficult because the stone had weathered away to a point where it was barely legible. I had an idea of where it was, and sure enough, after about an hour and a half of searching the grounds, I was able to locate it. It's very hard to be taken seriously as an undergraduate or even somebody without a degree at all to get into history. I'm continuing with my studies here at BMCC. I'm planning to go to City College as a transfer student once I get my associates, where I will enroll in their combined BA, MA program in history. And eventually, my goal is to become a professor of American history or New York City history. In my effort to become a historian, I had one professor in particular who was very supportive. He's no longer here at BMCC, he's over at Brooklyn. His name is Mark Wilson. He's a PhD candidate at the Graduate Center. And he really took an interest in my essays. And he noticed that my essays were a little more advanced than some of the other students, and that my research for my essays was much more advanced than than any of the other students. And we've had conversations, and I still keep in touch with him. And he looks over any essays that I have, and he'll do some editing for me every now and then. And he gives me a lot of advice on pursuits as far as the degree is concerned. In 5 to 7 years from now, I see myself at City College, in the Honor Society, working towards scholarships. Hopefully at that time I'll actually be taken seriously enough to work in the historical field. Even if it's a low position, I'll take it.